So Niall Barrett, would you please come forward and present the I-5 widening project?
Sachs, members of the council. My name is Niall Barrett. I'm the program manager at the Orange County Transportation Authority. I'm here tonight, pleased to present an update on the I-5 Freeway Improvement Project. This project is also known as Project C in the Measure M program, which was voted and approved by the Orange County voters back in 2006 and which began in 2011.
Is it not working?
Karen.
I'll go through the slides for you.
Thank you. I'll just say next if that's
Okay.
okay. Thank you very much. So as you know, this project is among several in South Orange County that OCTA has completed and is part of the 2008 South County Major Investment Study. Next. This slide shows just the overall OCTA investment in the South County, and as you can see, it's broken into three different categories. We have the freeways, streets and roads, and transit. Altogether, these three categories are total over $1 billion worth of investment in transportation in South County. So the project area for the I-5 widening project spans from the 73 down in Laguna Niguel all the way up to El Toro Road up in Lake Forest. And as you can see, we've broken the project into three separate segments, and working from the south going north is segment 1, then segment 2, and segment 3. And what I've tried to highlight here are the three largest interchange improvements within the overall project. And so we have Avery Parkway, La Paz Road, and Los Alices Boulevard, which will all be replaced as we widen the freeway. Next. So overall then, the project improvements are to add one northbound and one southbound general purpose lane between Avery Parkway and Alicia Parkway. Also we'll be extending the second high occupancy lane. This is the HOV lane, the carpool lane, between Alicia Parkway and El Toro Road. So today, in the southbound direction, those two carpool lanes converge into one, and we'll extend those two carpool lanes further south. We're also, as I mentioned, going to reconstruct some interchanges. We'll be reconstructing and adding new auxiliary lanes, and these are lanes where you get on at a ramp, an on-ramp, and then it ends when you get off at the next ramp. So it helps us manage traffic within specific areas. And then we will be realigning and improving and extending the length of the ramps, the on and off ramps. If you consider that the speed limits have increased since the original freeway was built, and so now we're extending, improving those ramps to give you time to get up to speed or to get back down from that speed as you enter and exit the freeway. So one of the major components of the project is the Avery Parkway reconstruction. And this is in segment 1. So today there are, well, just to give you a brief overview of the project as well, there's essentially, for the most part, there are 4 general purpose lanes and 1 carpool lane throughout this corridor. And so we will endeavor to keep all of those lanes on the freeway open during construction. But one of the things about Avery is that today there are 5 lanes on Avery Parkway, and when we're finished widening Avery Parkway, we will have 10 lanes on Avery Parkway. We'll also have new bike lanes as well as improved sidewalks for pedestrians and cyclists on Avery Parkway. So this is how we reconstruct Avery Parkway. The first stage, we will demolish and begin reconstruction in the northbound direction. So this is stage 1, as highlighted in the orange here. And so when we reconstruct that, we shift the traffic onto the newly constructed highway that overcrosses Avery Parkway. Stage 2, then, we shift traffic out of the way of, we shifted the traffic easterly, and we reconstruct on the western side of the freeway. And then stage 3, we finish construction on the west side of the freeway, and then when we're finished, we will have a newly constructed Avery Parkway. And you can see this is more or less what it will look like when it's completed. This next slide gives a visual as to what Avery Parkway will look like after construction, and you can see it's got a nice architectural feature underneath Avery Parkway, as well as, and I'll get more into the aesthetics in a few moments, but this is essentially in keeping with the overall aesthetic of the project. Similarly, along Crown Valley Parkway and Oso Parkway, which is next, we will be widening the freeway. Fortunately for those two overcrossings, we don't need to demolish those overcrossings. And so we'll realign the ramps, of course, as we widen the freeway. We will be placing K-rail throughout the project for the safety of pedestrians, motorists, and anybody else who uses either the streets or the freeway. So again, Oso Parkway, this isn't quite the same look, but it's essentially the same feel, if you will, that we will keep Oso Parkway open during construction. We don't need to demolish or reconstruct the Oso Parkway overcrossing. The next large reconstruction then is Paz Road, and again, this will be done in 3 stages, much like Avery Parkway. And we will be keeping the freeway open during construction, as well as Paz Road. And again, I'll briefly just run through the 3 stages. I won't get into too much detail. You can see again stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. And then when we're finished, we'll have Paz Road. And again, you've got the same architectural features. More to come later. We will have improved sidewalks, new bike lanes on both sides of Paz Road. We'll have dual left turn lanes onto the northbound and the southbound I-5 from La Paz as well. And then we'll also have a new standardized 15-foot clearance underneath the freeway on La Paz Road itself. This graphic gives an overview of the sound walls that are planned to be in construction as part of the project, and there are a total of 6 new sound walls being reconstructed. And so you'll see that 3 of these are in the city of Mission Viejo. And these sound walls are typically between 12 and 14 feet in height along the corridor. We'll also have a number of retaining walls, and you can see we've got, whereas it's the same theme, the same aesthetic, we have many minor, what we would call minor retaining walls, and then a number of major retaining walls. And you can see on the major retaining walls, we have this pastoral scene aesthetic, and this is keeping with the area, of course, the Saddleback Mountains. A ranchero-style motif will be provided on the major retaining walls. The location of those major retaining walls then under Avery Parkway, under the underpass as shown earlier, also at Crown Valley at the on and off ramp in the northbound direction. In La Paz Road underpass, we'll have some of the same motif, and then on the northbound on-ramp at La Paz Road, there's a large retaining wall just as you're getting on the freeway, and again, you'll see the same type of aesthetics there. We have an extensive traffic management plan, which we've worked with all of the cities along the corridors, as well as Caltrans, to ensure that traffic keeps moving during construction, and that potentially 3 separate contractors coordinate with each other to make sure that essential services can still get through the project all the way through construction. The current activities then, we're nearing final design. In fact, we've completed final design for segment 2, and then we're also approaching the completion of final design for segment 1 and then segment 3. And just to point out that the way this project is being delivered is segment 2, which is the middle segment, will be first. Segment 1, which is to the south, will be second, and then segment 3 is to the north. And the thinking behind that is 2 is the biggest, 1 is the medium-sized and 3 is the smallest. And the plan is to open all 3 segments at around the same time so that we can have this new freeway open completely at once. The project schedule then, to get into a little bit more detail, as mentioned, segment 2 is first. We plan to begin construction in January 2019. For segment 1, it's October 2019. And then for segment 3 is April in 2020. We have an extensive public outreach and communications plan with this and all of our projects at OCTA as we work with Caltrans and the cities. The cities have been attending all of our project development team meetings throughout the entire design phase of the project. And so the plan is, of course, to make sure that the motorists, the community, the residents, the businesses are fully aware as to what is going to happen next. We find that if people know what's going to happen, they can plan accordingly, and that's the most important thing, to get the word out via social media, via mailers, via more public meetings, any way that we can, just to fan out and get the word out to everybody. We will also include the cities in regular public outreach meetings that we'll have throughout the duration of construction of the project. Next steps then is my final slide, the city update here tonight in Mission Viejo, and then we'll have Laguna Niguel and Laguna Woods. We've already been in Laguna Hills and also Lake Forest in the last few weeks, and we'll plan to also have a groundbreaking in early 2019. That completes my presentation this evening. I'm
Very
happy to
good.
answer
Any
any questions?
questions? Councilmember Kelly.
Yes, thank you. Great presentation. Question about the sound walls. Could we revisit that? Where exactly will the additional sound walls be going? If I'm anticipating more lanes, more noise.
So the graphic, if we go backwards, and there was a slide that showed the location of the sound walls. So that shows the location, the lengths, and the heights of the proposed sound walls.
Okay, so nothing Crown Valley area. It will not extend as far as Crown Valley?
Well, there are a number of sound walls existing out there today, and so where we have to replace any sound walls, we will do that. Some sound walls will remain, they won't be touched, and these are the new sound walls that are proposed.
Okay. And retaining walls are not sound walls?
No, if you think in the northbound direction, this freeway is in a cut. In the southbound, it's in a fill. And so the cut and the fill are the retaining walls, and the sound walls are purely for noise attenuation for the residents who live along the corridor.
Okay. So the sound walls that are showing south of Oso Parkway, and they end then there at the end of your map, how much farther down is Crown Valley?
Well, it's between, and I guess the question is there's a gap there between the two sound walls showing, and where is Crown Valley? Is it between the gap? I honestly can't tell you right now where Crown Valley is specifically in relation to these two sound walls.
Okay, yeah, it would be a little bit farther south, I believe, and so my concern would be that sound possibly has not been addressed all the way south as far as it should be.
Well, it has. We are under a very strict Caltrans state and federal protocol as to what we can and can't build as far as sound walls go throughout the entire project. Essentially, these walls have to be both reasonable and feasible, so they have to make sense and they have to come in within a certain price as far as our cost estimates. And so these are the sound walls that have made it through that reasonableness and feasibleness criteria as dictated to us by Caltrans.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Raths.
Well, my concern, since I've been on council, the residents, as you get on northbound there at Oso, will there be like 2 lanes getting on now? Because right now it's backed up all the way back to Marguerite in the mornings.
Yes, there will be 2 lanes, and as I mentioned earlier, we'll be extending the length of those on and off ramps, so
Okay.
it will provide more storage on the ramp.
And as you get on Oso northbound, as you look to your right, you could see the homes and they're just wooden fences. There's there's no plans for any type of sound walls there. As you get on Oso there heading north between Oso and the high school, you just look up there and you see just homes with wooden fences, and those residents have been complaining for a long time of the amount of noise.
Right, those residences will not be receiving a sound wall as part of this project, again, because of the reasonableness and feasibleness criteria that we have to meet, which we didn't meet. There are a few locations in this project where we looked at that, we studied it, and unfortunately we're not able to provide sound walls to everybody throughout the corridor.
I know, well, they've got sound barriers up there. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a question for city manager and perhaps yourself, sir. Fixing the interchanges is terrific, and we appreciate all that. But if we have choke points before we get to those interchanges, it becomes a problem. We've had the La Paz Bridge widening on the agenda for quite some time. Is that going to be done in conjunction with this? What's the status of that?
It's still being reviewed by the Federal Highway Administration, and once we receive that approval, the plans and specs are done. It's just waiting for that final approval and the authorization to proceed. We're still hopeful that that'll be under construction by the end of this year.
Okay, because if we all come down to just the 2 lanes on the bridge, causes more problems. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Absolutely appreciate it.